Gobyworld is a point-and-click adventure web game where you play as Goby, a piece of already been chewed gum, in his quest to find freedom beyond the digestive system. Point-and-click adventure games were the popular genre in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and now they're not. But why not? Well, the grandfather of the genre of adventure games was Colossal Cave Adventure. And this game was a text parser game. So the computer would output a block of text, and the user would compose their own response and command, and the computer would interpret this. So the computer might output, you're at a fork in the road, and you would write go left or go right. The fun in this and the problem solving came from composing the right nomenclature, the right verbs to put together for the computer to read. So instead of saying open door, you might say like prop door open. And then after computers evolved a bit, these text parser games evolved into a graphical adventure. So the one on the right, Maniac Mansion, this has at the bottom, you can see it has a fixed set of verbs. So at the bottom here, there's like 15 verbs, and instead of users composing their own verbs and writing their own commands, they could click on a command from the fixed set list and use that in conjunction with something in the room. But without writing your own commands, it became more about storytelling. Why are they important now? Well, if you know how to use a computer, you know how to play a point-and-click adventure game. How would I go about making a digestible, meaning accessible and easy to use point-and-click for a new generation? Well, the first three things, it has to be free, it has to be on the web, and it has to use the single verb, which is this has the text parser and then the fixed list of verbs. A single verb is if you click on the door, it knows that you want to open the door. It doesn't have any really verbiage to it. So how did I make this? Well, I combined storytelling, game engine programming, and art and design. For the game engine programming, I used Adventure Game Studio, which was created in 1997 and is proprietary to sort of adventure game genre and point and clicks. And this uses, this is like the graphical interface that I use, and then it also scripts in C++. For the story, I followed, this is an 8-point myth, or 8-point like kind of quest story framework that is very popular and is very recognizable and relatable. The artwork was pixel art, and this was a nod to the old adventure games, but also I was making all the art, so I wanted to have very specific restrictions. I think everyone is familiar with the pixel as like the smallest bit of information, and so this type of pixel art can become stylized instead of outdating. So I tested this game. I tested it at the NYU Game Center, which is mostly students who are studying game design, and I tested it among friends and family. And I used this acronym, frustrating favorite, WAND, which is if you had a wand, what would you change? What are you doing in the game? And describe the game. So people weren't sure if there was an objective. People's favorite aspect was kind of being able to interact. My favorite sentence is, the worlds were beautiful, the music was fun, Goby turned me on. Someone said all the aha moments throughout, real problem solving. Someone wanted Goby to dance. Someone said they were using their brain to solve little puzzles, and described it as the adventure of a lifetime. And so what I learned from this is there are two things that need to change in the game, or need to add to the game. So one is interactivity, and this will make it so that you're in the world more and there's more to do when you're inside the game, which is what people's favorite part was. And then I think there's a kind of a learning curve when I first released this and tested it. People weren't sure how to use the inventory. There's an inventory. People weren't sure how to move. A lot of people I sent it to, and they were like, that was cool, but all I could do was click. And I was like, oh, you have to use your keyboard. So I needed to give instructions, and I needed to have a satisfying end to the game with an outro.